someone who was in a government that was economically reformist, which sought to balance budgets, because the best youth policy, as a former treasurer, Peter Costello, has commented, actually is debt reduction, so that you don't pass on massive debts with the crippling taxes that go with them to service them, because governments don't have debts, only people do. I can understand the sense of disillusionment that it's been made worse by poor economic responses to the great financial crisis, which shouldn't have happened. No one went to jail, because technically no one had broken the law. Did they behave immorally? Did they behave in ways that reflected that capitalism had lost its moral compass? Yes. Was the damage great? Yes. It was exacerbated by COVID. And here's the rub, because of all things, this is the one that young people probably are not tuned into. The sort of responses that we are forming to climate are damaging the fabric even more, because there are wealthy people insulated from it. But the costs, and there are real costs, come against middle and lower income earners and young people. Now, the great problem we've got here, though, is to some extent an intellectual one. It's not a conservative versus left versus right. It's how do we actually get the fundamentals of sound economics over it. It's, in the end, it's no different to running a house. Run your budget properly, you'll be able to afford things. If you don't, you'll come unstuck.
Well, from your lips to our government's ears, I have been wondering aloud for a very long time now, long before I became a public figure in any way, how it is possible that we are accumulating debts. I mean, the United States interest repayments next year will be greater than their defense budget.
Yeah.
I am no great economist, but that does not seem to me to be sustainable. And
it is not sustainable.
It is not. And as a father who hopes to one day be a grandfather like you, I don't see the morality in passing down these debts to our children and grandchildren. And by the way, this is where I think we really have struggled, and we have to start doing better, is we have struggled to win the linguistic argument. And language is very important in the way we communicate about these issues. The progressive woke ideas are constantly presented by those people who advocate them as being about compassion and empathy. And we have to start winning the argument on their terms and saying there is nothing compassionate about impoverishing our children and grandchildren. There is nothing compassionate about middle-class posh people driving into London or taking trains into London to glue themselves to roads to stop working-class people getting to the job that pays for their children to have food on the table. There's nothing empathetic or compassionate about impoverishing poor people around the world so that we can feel good about the fact that we've reduced Britain's global carbon emissions percentage from 2% to 1% or even to 0. There's nothing compassionate about that. It's not empathetic. It's a religion that is demanding things of us that make no sense. It's a sort of Aztec human sacrifice almost in the way that they're approaching these things. They make no sense. And increasingly the public are starting to understand that that's what's happening.